Picture this. A seemingly unassuming Uber driver, raised by missionary parents, suddenly at the center of a shocking accusation for starting one of California's most devastating wildfires. It's the kind of story that grips you, blending everyday life with something straight out of a crime drama. But here's where it gets controversial. Could someone described as nice and shy really be capable of such destruction? Let's dive into the details and see what the evidence reveals, while exploring the layers that make this case so puzzling. People who knew Jonathan Rinderknecht, now 29, often paint a picture of him as the reserved son of missionaries, someone who could occasionally come across as a bit spoiled or overly enthusiastic when pushed. In the vibrant Hollywood area where he resided and earned a living driving for Uber, one local acquaintance simply called him a really nice guy. Yet beneath that surface, he found himself tangled in a heated dispute with a neighbor in his apartment building, involving claims of mistreatment and substance abuse. Now, federal prosecutors are pointing the finger at Rinderknecht, alleging he deliberately ignited what has been dubbed one of the most catastrophic fires in California's history. According to a court document, officials claim he started the blaze just after midnight on New Year's Day along a beloved hiking path in Pacific Palisades. To add to the intrigue, prosecutors say he repeatedly played a moody French rap track and even downloaded an AI-created picture showing a city engulfed in flames. For beginners wondering about the gravity here, arson like this isn't just a simple fire. It can destroy homes, wildlife, and lives, often leading to massive evacuations and long-term environmental damage, as seen in California's wildfire seasons. Rinderknecht hasn't been available for comment, and authorities haven't disclosed any clear reason for the supposed actions. Public records and his online posts indicate that this 29-year-old has ties to Florida, Hollywood, Pacific Palisades, and southern France, where his parents served as missionaries. As late as this spring, documents reveal he was living and registered to vote in a Hollywood apartment complex, located just north of Hollywood Boulevard, near the iconic Roosevelt Hotel. A few months back, federal agents from the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives paid a visit to the building and seemed to be searching his unit. A neighbor recounted seeing them armed and moving in and out, adding they were going in and out of the apartment. This neighbor, who preferred to remain unnamed, spoke to a Times reporter on Wednesday and recognized Rinderknecht, but said their interactions were minimal. He kept to himself, she noted. Peter Chang, 39, has been a resident of the same Sycamore Avenue apartment building in Hollywood for roughly 4 years. He immediately identified Rinderknecht from a photo released by prosecutors. Chang remembered him as quiet and introverted, having lived there for about 2 years. The news of his arrest left Chang stunned. He was actually a really nice guy, Chang shared, explaining that their conversations were limited to brief hallway chats or elevator rides in the 3-story complex, which houses dozens of studio and one-bedroom units. Chang described Rinderknecht as soft-spoken and reserved, noting he stood out because of his unique, numerical keypad door lock, unlike the traditional key systems in most other apartments. A past roommate who shared a place with Rinderknecht and another person for nearly 2 years on Via La Costa in the Palisades expressed disbelief that he could be involved in arson. "I can only tell you that Jonathan I know would never do anything like that," the former roommate said, requesting anonymity to avoid potential business repercussions. However, this roommate, who parted ways with Rinderknecht in 2022, mentioned that he sometimes just start talking fast and get bratty with people who confronted him. But he wouldn't get violent. He would maybe just smoke some pot and go to sleep. The Skull Rock trailhead, mentioned in the government's criminal complaint, was practically next door to their old home, the ex-roommate explained, and the two often hiked that path together. The roommate added that detectives informed him Rinderknecht wasn't cooperating with the probe, but that alone doesn't prove guilt. "I also can believe he pissed these investigators off by not cooperating," the former roommate remarked. "He was just being a bratty kid about this, and this is something you can't ignore, so they had to bring him in." And this is the part most people miss. non-cooperation can sometimes escalate a situation, raising questions about whether it's defiance or just a personality quirk. Back in the fall of 2018, before his Hollywood stint, Rinderknecht and a girlfriend rented a room via Airbnb in a San Fernando Valley house, as recounted by the landlord, who wished to stay anonymous to prevent harassment. She described Rinderknecht as very intelligent and said he mentioned having family in France, identifying himself as a Frenchman. She believed he worked occasionally as a waiter in a restaurant. But as time passed, the landlord became worried. She overheard Rinderknecht being rude, even harsh, to his girlfriend and suspected drug use and property damage to her walls and blinds. She recalled hearing the girlfriend sobbing or pleading that her family wanted her to leave and return home. He disregarded all the rules. If I said don't do this, he'd be very upset and talk back to me, the landlord remembered. I called Airbnb to kick him out. Eventually, after she threatened to involve the police, he and his girlfriend departed. The landlord estimated repairs cost her around $2,000. During his time in Hollywood, Rinderknecht was embroiled in 2 unrelated civil lawsuits, neither connected to the fire case. Records indicate one stemmed from a car accident while he was driving for DoorDash, as confirmed by the plaintiff to the Times. In March, he filed a lawsuit against a neighbor, but it was dismissed because he didn't appear in court. Rinderknecht occupied a modest 3rd-floor apartment in the complex. It's now leased to someone else, who didn't want to be named but mentioned that occasional mail still arrives for Rinderknecht. The building is situated between Franklin Avenue and Hollywood Boulevard, close to Runyon Canyon and Outpost Estates. Though distant from the Palisades fire, the area faced mandatory evacuations during the Sunset Fire, which erupted the day after the Palisades blaze began. On Wednesday morning, a stream of news photographers and videographers descended on the apartment building, capturing shots of its courtyard pool and entrance. 2 nearby residents recalled seeing Rinderknecht, but couldn't remember anything noteworthy. They were astonished that he might be responsible for such a massive disaster. The manager of Rinderknecht's former Hollywood complex, who only identified himself as Joey, mentioned receiving calls from TMZ and ABC News that morning. "I'm not allowed to give any statement," he stated, citing company policy. Following the Palisades fire, Rinderknecht relocated from California to Florida, per prosecutors. His mother, Jennifer, hails from Florida, according to Pastor Sean Hurley of Meadowbrook Baptist Church in Lima, Ohio. His father, Joel, is a French national, and the pair resides in France. Hurley encountered the family during their missionary journeys across the U.S., visiting every 4 years as part of their stops. He first met the parents in 1995, before Rinderknecht's birth, and saw him grow into a teenager, the last time he laid eyes on him. Hurley portrayed Rinderknecht as an average teenager, with a passion for the soccer team Olympique de Marseille. It's unclear exactly when Rinderknecht arrived in Southern California, but prosecutors confirm he once lived in the Palisades and knew the fire-starting area well. The U.S. Attorney's Office filed charges against him on October 2nd in the Central District Court of California, with his arrest occurring on Wednesday in Florida. Prosecutors are currently deciding which witnesses to call for his October 17th preliminary hearing, based on court documents. On Wednesday morning, Rinderknecht made a brief appearance in an Orlando federal courtroom where he was assigned a federal public defender. He was instructed to return for a preliminary hearing the next morning and remains detained, according to records. But here's where it gets controversial. Without a stated motive, and with accounts of Rinderknecht being nice yet bratty, some might wonder if this is a case of mistaken identity, or if there's a deeper psychological story at play. The AI image and rap song could be seen as harmless hobbies, or as eerie clues. What do you think? Is the prosecution's evidence solid, or does the lack of cooperation and personal conflict suggest there's more nuance here? Do you believe someone from a missionary background could commit such an act? Or is this a reminder that we never truly know our neighbors? Share your opinions in the comments. Let's discuss. More to read.